All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you Sonny Gullage, blind pig recording artist, brand new blind pig recording artist as of this year. And
Yes,
and Blind Pig is brand new as well. They were gone for a long time, and then all of a sudden they resurfaced late last year, and they opened with the first record was the Altered Five Blues Band, and Sonny's is going to be the next one that's coming out in a few weeks.
yes, sir.
Welcome to the show, Sonny.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here on Blues Deluxe. It means the world to me. Uh, let's do this. Let's
Let's
talk.
let's do it. So you're
That-
from New Orleans. You're all the way down there in Louisiana. You grew up there, and tell me about your family. I know your family has a musical history as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, sir. I, like you said, I was born down here in the New Orleans area. I have a family full of musicians. First thing I always talk about my father. My father is my bass player, as well as the person who really guides me through this, being that he's been a professional musician since he was
See,
14.
I didn't know he was your bass player. That's pretty cool.
If you have access to people who are on that level, I feel like you should definitely go with the
Yeah.
people. And I mean,
Tell me about his history. He's got a history too, playing
oh,
with all kinds of people.
yes, and that actually fed a lot into me being a blues musician. I mean, I grew up watching my dad play with Vashti Jackson, play with Henry Butler. He recorded with Dr. John. He was doing so much in this style of music that I was always just blessed to see it. I mean, I like to say this a lot. Very few musicians have certain types of stories. Like I have a Chevy Chase story. I have this story. I have that story. My father has a Chuck Berry story, which makes it a little bit different.
Well, let's hear it. Let's hear the Chuck Berry story.
Yeah, my dad. He was Chuck Berry was supposed to be playing in New Orleans. Well, he played in New Orleans to open a convention center, if I'm not mistaken. And funny enough, the entire band was supposed to be guys from here because his band wasn't coming. But the night of the show, the only person who showed up was Chuck Berry's bass player, and Chuck Berry was Chuck Berry and his bass player. So my father didn't play that night, but he got to hang with Chuck Berry the entire night.
Wow.
And just being around somebody like Chuck Berry, he learned so much. He always told myself and the fellas, it was like, hey, there's a lot more to music than you think. There's a lot more to the person you show. There's a lot more to the image of being a musician, as well as just being a phenomenal musician.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Now, going back to my family lineage, that's my father. And my father has 11 siblings.
Wow.
He has brothers and 6 sisters. So there are 6 boys and 6 girls. And in gospel music in the South, anything more than 4 people, 4 singers were called a quartet for some reason. I don't know why, but it didn't go to quintet or nothing, just quartet. So the 6 boys had their own gospel quartet, and the 6 girls had their own gospel quartet.
Wow.
And so growing up in a family with that many singers, it's really something special. And it goes even further back. It goes to my grandmother, who was a gospel recording artist, and that being my father's mother. I mean, she recorded in 1965 with Sammy Perfect, of some of the greatest musicians of all time. They just happened to be strung out throughout my family's history, and even going back to the Lead Belly connection that we
I was going
like.
to ask you about that.
uh, Being in the New Orleans area, being in the South specifically, it is a it's more of an oral history place. Your family story is your story, and it's passed down through the word of mouth, not through documents, not through. My grandfather went to the hospital 2 years ago. That's when they found out that he existed. They tried to look him up in the system. He was just nowhere to be found.
They
He never
found him.
Yeah, he'd never gone to the doctor in that way, in a sense where they'd have a record of him. So a lot of your family's existence is even done through the oral tradition. So my uncle, one day I was playing in BB King's Blues Club, and my uncle came to visit and watch me, and he goes, "Yeah, man, this is really something special. I mean, this is what you're meant to do. That's a picture of your great 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 uncle on the wall right there." And I look behind me because we're in BB King's Blues Club. The pictures are very specifically great in blues. So I look behind me. There's a picture of Leadbelly there. And I look back at him with this fascination. I go, him? Like Leadbelly? Yeah.
Did you ask him how you were related to him?
And yeah, I was very confused because no one had ever told me this, and I've been playing blues for a few years at that point. So, like, professionally playing blues for a few years at that point. And he said it so nonchalantly that it was just not conjecture. It was just like, oh, matter of fact, by the way, haha, bye. And then I, being young, I sort of was like, huh, that's really cool, but I brushed it off just in case it wasn't, just in case it was just a hearsay type thing.
Yeah.
Until to my aunt's house, I went to my grandmother's house, and my aunt was there, and she looks at me and she goes, "Yeah, but we've been doing music of all sorts for a long time, not just gospel, blues. Even before our last name was Gullage, it was Leadbetter." I said, "So yeah, if you've ever heard of a blues musician named Leadbelly, yeah, that's your great uncle." She just said it just as nonchalantly.
So is that on your father's side?
Yes,
Yeah.
all of the rich, super historic music events in my family happen to come from my father's side. Now, I do give my mother's side credit for the sense that I have a blues trifecta bloodline where I have a family of musicians from this Mississippi Delta area on my father's side, New Orleans and etc. Right, but my mother's side, I have a family from Chicago and Memphis. So, oh, that's pretty cool. So when you put all that together, it made this weird concoction of a person who I happen to become, where I'm playing blues styles that are very specifically from New Orleans area and the Mississippi Delta area, but they have little hints and tinges of that Memphis traditional sound and that Chicago funky blues sound. And it's just because I was exposed to all
All of that stuff.
all
Yeah.
of those of what we call the blues.
So growing up, I know you had music around you, all your family growing up, and I mean even going back. Now, as a kid growing up, what were you listening to on the radio?
Ooh, I recently just unlocked a memory when I came across an old the old CD players that they came out with in the early 2000s. You just
Yeah.
put in.
I still got some.
Yeah, and I unlocked this memory. I came across one and I was like, oh man, I remember these. I had this CD that my father gave me for Christmas because growing up in this region of the country, sometimes your Christmases can vary in the cool things that you get. And I was a kid, so I get one big instrument present, and then I get a lot of other like smaller presents. And one of these smaller presents was one of those CD players and a CD. America's Great Hits. That's what it was, something like that, just a random name. And there were two tracks that I'd always play, always switch between. I mean, every single day until that CD got scratched or broke or lost. And it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pride and Joy, and Lenny Kravitz's version of American Woman. I was
Wow.
I had that in my headphones. I had that in my ears. And then at the same time, I was around great musicians all the time. I was sitting down in the corner of the room listening to great musicians rehearse. My father would have the rehearsals sometimes at our house. So Henry Butler would just walk in and shred on this very piano that I'm sitting at and then leave. And then you'd have Vashti Jackson. He'd come in and set up his rig and just wail and play blues. So I was always around that blues style. And then also growing up.
Did you ever learn anything from Henry Butler when he was in your house?
Oh my gosh. I was super duper young. I was about 6 years old watching what I didn't know at the time was one of the most legendary blues
Yeah,
pianists.
well, it's going to be you now. How's that?
Man, oh man, just getting to I think I learned in such a way, and if I'm gonna mess around on this, I learned in such a way from Henry Butler. Ah, I learned so many like things just getting to sit back and hear him do what he does. He never said something like, "Hey Kevin, come over here, let me show you something." He never gave me one of those. It was just always just sitting there and going, just sitting there and playing. I haven't played that thing I just played. I can't even tell you how long it's been. But it was something that I heard so much because Henry was there so much. I heard my father and in the wee hours of the morning on his bass practicing Henry Butler songs. And I heard Henry Butler just playing it and playing it and playing it. And it became something that was sort of just threaded in me. And that was much of Henry Butler's influence in my life, where just him being around, just being around a presence like Henry Butler was amazing. And I remember, I remember the last thing he ever told me before he passed. It was one of those funny things that Henry Butler would do. He goes, "Yeah, Kevin, I've been hearing you. Ha ha ha. You know, one day maybe I'll have to come down there and you'll give me a piano lesson."
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I was about 18 years old. And 18 or 19 years old. And then the next year, Henry had died.
Wow.
I always held, I always hold that very close to me, because what a guy, what a presence, what a legend, you know, and that was the last thing he ever told me.
Wow.
It was just the little bit of encouragement that I didn't know would mean so much to me one day, because one day, sooner rather than later at the time, he passed.
He's a legend. Getting
And
getting any kind of discussion of your instrument, or watching someone like that is incredible, I guess, for a young guy.
oh yes, sir. And coming out of a school that he'd been a professor at before. I was coming out of New Orleans Center of Creative Arts out of NOCA, and it was at the time he'd moved to New York. You know, that's where he spent his last time, and he was still there, just watching, well, listening, but he was still there, watching me essentially grow as a musician, and then watching me grow as a blues musician. And
Great.
have that, and it was so randomly that I just happened to be in the car one day while he and my father were on the phone, and just to be there where he could tell me that, and that was the last thing he told me. That was truly something.
That was great. Now tell me about the Louis Armstrong Jazz Camp. You and a whole bunch of Louisiana young guys have come through there. You and John Batiste and Trombone Shorty and yourself as well. Tell me about that. What was that? What was that like?
The Sashmo Summer Jazz Camp. It's one of those experiences that really, really grows you, because it's for a lot of New Orleans young musicians. It's the first time that you get to see other young musicians who care about the versatility of music just as much as they care about saying they're a musician. I mean, first time I went, I made so many great friends, and even today I talk to them constantly. One of them when we met, she was a little bit older. She was playing with Arturo Sandoval, and
I know who he is. Yeah.
she was still like, she was older, but she was only older by like a year or two. And then I had someone who was a friend who named Sam Reed, and Sam Reed was studying under Robert Glasper. Everybody had their own place they were coming from. Gabby Gar, and to this day, Sam Reed, he writes for movies. He does things on that level. And Gabby Garro, who was my friend who played with Arturo, she's played with John Batiste. She's played with Beyonce, Chloe X Halle. She's played with the who's who. And it's just an experience that teaches you how to be a musician who cares about all the aspects of music, rather than just saying, like I said, rather than just saying, oh, I want to be a musician and just start playing. No, you learn about the work that goes into it. And I remember they said this, and if this offends anyone, I apologize. I'm saying it now. I remember they said this one day at a press conference. They said, I want to acknowledge that the Satchmo Summer Jazz Camp is the best jazz intensive in the country. Someone said that out. I'm sitting there like, wow, big statement to make. Until they said this, because what it takes Berkeley 5 weeks to do, we do it in 3. I cracked up laughing because it was so funny, but so true in a way. You made people care about music in a very small amount, care for what happens next in music in a very small amount of time. We got to work with artists like, I got to work with Patrice Rushen, just one-on-one. I got to learn from Edward Kid Jordan before he passed. I got to learn from the Queen of Swing, Norma Miller. All of these people that I just have the experience of running across because of Satchmo Summer Jazz Camp, even Albert Tootie Heath, Cecil Bridgewater, so many more, where you could just learn someone. And even now, I put my younger cousins, once again, the Giant Music family, I put my younger cousins through that camp. They just got to play. With so many other young great artists. They got to, and the artist who came in to instruct them was actually Fred Wesley. So having exposure to real musicians as well as younger musicians who you become peers with, that's a great thing. So yeah. And especially with a turnout history, and I tell everybody, you have to look at the product that people put out. You don't look at how much fun people say they have. No, you look at the product. You look at the outcome. You look at the outcome of any camp. You look at the outcome of Satchmo Camp. You have some of the most legendary, dynamic musicians came out of the Louis Armstrong Jazz Summer Intensive.
Yeah, and then you became Kevin and the Blues Groovers after that, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Tell me about that band. That was your first band, right?
Technically, no. We were, well, yes, but no. We were known as something else. We were known as the Kevin Gullage Band originally, just the Kevin Gullage Band. And then we said, well, we need to get a name that people will know what they're about to get from. And that's where Kevin and the Blues Groovers came in. Now, to this day, first things first, I still tour with the Blues Groovers. Now it's Kevin Sonny Gullage and the Blues Groovers. The Blues Groovers.
They're still your band, right? Even to this day.
Yeah, we actually, it's funny enough, I just got in this morning. We all just from the Calvary. And
you're in the Calvary Blues Festival, right?
Calvary Blues Festival. Got back. What a time it was.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, wow. I can. Give 2 shakes for a second.
There you go.
There. All right. Got me?
I got you.
All right. So I don't care what anyone tries to say about me. I don't care what anyone tries to make of me. I will say this. The Blues Groovers are the biggest reason that I've become what I've become. These guys had my back through all of it, through the pandemic that we all went through the BB King days. Even the first time I stepped on stage as a frontman for blues, we were known as the Kevin Gullage Band, but this was the Blues Groovers.
And you got 2 Kenny Neal guys in your band who used to play with Kenny Neal, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brandon Adams and Lil Mike Harris as well was playing with Kenny Neal. But this weekend we had a special guest on drums, which was Tony T.C. Coleman. So
yeah, I've interviewed him. He used to play with BB King.
Yeah, and I call him Uncle Tony at this point. He back in the BB King Blues Club days, He was sort of our liaison between the BB King's company as well as the musicians around. So yeah, but the Blues Groovers, we're a unit, we're a family. We go on stage, and every stage we have a saying. We say, "Leave it on stage."
Leave it all out on the stage, right?
This is the last stage you can go to. If this is the last stage you'll ever be on, don't have any regrets about it. Say, this was my last show, and this is the best show I've ever given. That's what you want to say. And even if you feel like I've done better, you still know that you gave your 100. And that's where I think that the Blues Groovers, I can't even express how grateful I am to have a group like that. I mean, on the new album, the guys didn't record. This was a slew of amazing Nashville cats and Tom Hambridge and so many, and that made a big difference in terms of what we were presenting.
I know Tom. Tom used to live up here in Massachusetts.
Yes, sir. But in terms of what we bring to every stage, because it's not all about the music that you hear on the radio. It's not all about the music that you can hear on your streaming services. It's about the experience you give people on stage as well.
Do you know his first band, what he called his first band when he was up here as a rock guy? TH and the Wreckage.
TH and the Wreckage? Wow.
Yeah, ask him about that.
I'm going to text him about that today.
Yeah, ask him what it was like being in TH and the Wreckage. He'll tell you about it.
Yes, sir.
Tell him a DJ up here I knew when he was around town. We used to see him.
Yes, sir. I'll say I was on Blies Deluxe. I'm not sure if I'll say I was on Blies Deluxe. I'm not sure if you ever heard of this band, but the DJ brought him up. It's called TH and the Wreckage.
He'll laugh when you tell him that. And then, not too long after that, well, a few years after that, he was producing Susan Tedeschi up here.
Just Won't Burn, right?
Yep. And he's with Buddy Guy now. He's traveling with Buddy and producing Buddy.
When we went into the writing session for the new album, he very just regularly had all of his Grammys just sitting behind him, just on the shelf, along with every other blues award you could think of. And he had Susan Tedeschi, Just Won't Burn. Yep. And then at the end of it, he had Eric Gale's Crown. Just all of his Grammys just in order.
Oh yeah.
And even now with Kingfish and everything that he's done, Tom Hambridge has done so much to help.
Well, that was the next question about the new record. I was going to ask you about the new record, but before I do that, I know Kingfish was on it with you, but I wanted to ask you about American Idol.
Oh yeah.
You were on American Idol back in 2022, something like that.
Yes, sir.
What was that like to do that?
Amazing. I tell everybody, you have to learn the lessons as they come. One of those lessons is TV land is TV land. TV land and music land are not the same thing. Now, getting to meet people was really amazing, though.
Lionel Richie, I bet was.
Yeah, I have a story about him and everything.
Go ahead.
Lionel Richie, though. I mean, the other competitors as well. Elliot Greer, Sam Barber, guys who were making steps in Ryan Argas, guys who are making steps in music in their respective genres, and just getting to make friends. Tristan Gressett, just getting to make friends with people who were doing so much, like and not even just in America. There's like Nicolina Bazo, who's in Canada, and even when we were up there in Calgary, I texted her and told her, "Hey, I'm in your area, so heads up." But
so you kept connected with all those people that were competing with you.
Trial by fire is the best way to make friends. And we were all going through everything. I mean, we were going through 7 a.m. wake up calls when you didn't get back from you didn't get back from the shooting. You didn't get back from shooting till 11 p.m. And then one night you didn't get done rehearsing until some of us didn't get done till 3 a.m. and you still had to have a 7 a.m. lobby call ready to go to the Orpheum Theater. And that makes friends. That makes trial by fire is how you become thick as thieves, as they say. But my Lionel Richie story, I was sitting right there next to him. I was just he's up here on this platform doing the judging portion, and I'm sitting right there next to him at the bottom, just looking at him, and I'm staring at him. I didn't realize I was staring so hard, to the point where he turned to me and goes, "Kevin, what's up?" He goes, "Kevin, what's up? You've been what's up? You look concerned. What's up?" I said, "I just don't envy you what you got to do. You know, this has got to be hard, where you got to tell people whether they make it or whether they don't."
Yeah, it's not easy.
And I looked at him. I told him just honestly as that. I said, "I just don't envy you in this position, you know." And he goes, "Kevin," stands up and goes, "You know what, everybody? When you make it, not to say you didn't make it because you're here, but when you make it and you can have anything you want, you have everything you want." He looks down at me and goes, "Call me and we'll finish this conversation." So if there is anything that I'm working towards, really, really working towards right now, it's somehow getting to the position of calling him and finishing that conversation.
Well, so, look at all the people that have competed in American Idol and become famous without American Idol after it.
Yes, sir. That makes a big difference. You know, it's going through Idol is great because it gives you a different side of the professional world of music than what you might be used to. And especially in New Orleans, where you think, "Oh, we know professional music."
Nope.
You do, but
you don't. You do, but you don't.
You do, but you don't. You know how to be a gigging musician. You know how to do these things. Only a certain handful of the real New Orleans professional musicians can tell you about the kind of things I was at Idol learning on the fly. Hey, you might have to reshoot one movement 5 times. You might have to say something that you might not necessarily think it means one thing, but it means a different thing. And everything has another thing behind it. Everything has I remember when they eliminated me, they said, "Kevin, you did absolutely nothing wrong. You were one of those people who did absolutely everything right."
But
we don't on this show. We do not know where to put you on this show. You're a real head scratcher. We can see you selling out stadiums and arenas and touring, but this might not be your stage. We just don't know where to put you. And I told him, I said, "That's fair." That's all I had to say. I was like, "That's fair." And then afterwards, they said, "Hugs all around." I hugged Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. And I told all, "Thank you so much for this, and I'll see you guys out there." And I meant it.
Well, you will. You're on your way. Put it that way.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about instruments. You didn't start out playing keyboards in the beginning, right?
I didn't hop on piano and boards till I was about 12 years old.
So what were you doing? You were playing guitar first, right? Or what were you playing before?
So first I started off with bass. Well, I started off with guitar, as in I had one of those little kitty guitars. But when I started really wanting to learn music, bass. Because I wanted to be like my dad, you know. I wanted to
play bass, yeah.
I wanted to look as cool as my dad is and do all these things, tour like my dad, but you know, that didn't stick as much, but I still have all the skills and stuff. And then I was about 9 years old and I wanted to make a lot of noise because making noise is fun. So I started playing drums, just making noise.
So you're a multi-instrument. You can play them all, basically.
I play almost every instrument, excluding the categories of brass and bowed strings. I just can't get that sound correct when I try, and I can't make my lips perch the right way for brass. But I play all saxophones. I play clarinets.
Wow.
I play woodwinds. I play electric guitar. I play electric bass. I play drums. I specialize in more rhythm section based instruments, and keyboards, I've had to play a range from harpsichord to celeste to, traditional piano, blues piano, jazz piano, Rhodes, Wurlitzer, the works, organ. So melodeon. So I play a lot of instruments.
Wow.
A handful, I think.
Well, you know who I remember played both guitar and keyboards was Lucky Peterson. I don't know if you've ever seen him or saw him before he died. He was great.
So my organ
Oh, I just
player
lost you.
had
There
the
we
chance
go.
to be great friends with great friends. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so my organ player had the chance to be great friends with Lucky. What is going on with this? Give me one
Got
second.
it. You got it. You're on.
Okay, I had frozen. My organ player had the chance to be great friends with Lucky Peterson. And by great friends, I mean he met him and he got to learn from him. And that's friends enough for somebody like Brandon Adams. And he always tells me, even to this day, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. We were talking about Lucky Peterson yesterday. He said, man, I wish you would have got to meet him before he died. And he was telling me all these stories. So like on the blues cruise, he was showing me all this kind of stuff, just dropping these knowledge bombs for me.
Well, I can tell you a story about him.
Yes.
I saw him. He usually would open the show either with guitar or keyboard, one or the other. It was that he'd do a first set with just that instrument. Then the second set would be the other instrument. He never played both. It was one and one. And one night I saw him in Boston, and Ronnie Earl was in the house. It was the House of Blues in Cambridge, and
Yes, sir.
he played keyboards, and he had Ronnie playing guitar, and he wanted Ronnie to sing, and Ronnie doesn't sing. It was funny. Ronnie looked at him and goes, because Lucky sang the whole night, and he stopped. He looked at him and he goes, sing. And I couldn't believe it. The whole place was in shock.
just sitting back like, whoa.
Yeah, whoa, I don't sing. I just play guitar.
He's just sitting there like.
Yep, exactly.
And I love that about blues. I love that about this blues community. I'm so serious. I mean, this happened this past weekend in Calgary with Tony T.C. Coleman playing, and so many others were there. I got to meet Bob Corritor, and gosh, Kevin Burks was there.
Did he invite you down to his? He's got all kinds of things going down in his area of what is it, Arizona? He lives, right? Or?
Yeah, yes, sir. We talked. We actually rode in the golf cart next to each other, and we were sitting there talking. And he was telling me about Arizona. He was telling me, he said, everyone's been telling me, because he missed my show, but he goes, for some reason, everyone's been telling me that you're pretty good. And I was sitting there like, thank you, sir. First of all,
yeah, you go down to his club. He'll record you. He records them all and releases them.
That sounds like a time worth having, honestly.
You should go down there and visit. I bet you he'll get you up on that stage and record you.
I would love to, honestly. If he says, hey, buddy, I want you to record it over here, I would love to. And
he's had all kinds of people from, you name it. All the greats have been come through his club, and he's recorded them and released stuff.
I know he was recording a lot with Primetime, right? If not
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's what a time. Getting to meet legendary blues musicians. It was Bob Corritor, and then Big Lou was there.
Yeah.
Big Lou, and then Kevin Burks and Uncle Russ.
I mean, John Primer's recorded in his studio down there. I mean, you name it. Some of the big names from Chicago that come through Arizona, he gets them when they come through.
I mean, that's exactly what I was talking on. The blues community, just having that community that's very, very, hey, we're making friends. Chris Kane was there, and great guy who also plays guitar as well as keyboard. And and stepping up behind Chris Kane, I was sitting there just in shock.
He's one of the best rhythm guitar players and lead, but he's an incredible rhythm guitar player. I can't believe how good he is.
He was playing so much stuff 2 nights ago, just funky stuff.
Yeah.
And the way he sings, the way he played Living for the City on keyboards. He switched to Rhodes and just went and played. And I was sitting there like, wow.
He sounds just like B.B. King. If you close your eyes, you think it's B.B. King singing.
He has such a I think his tone is just so unique, actually, too. Just very much. At this point, if I close my eyes and I hear Chris Kane, I'm gonna say it's Chris. I'm gonna say I think that's Chris.
Well,
Kane.
you know it's him, but BB's no longer with us. But
even just that style that he has, that BB technique, though.
Yep, he does.
It's so amazing to hear him play anything.
And his new record's good too. Really good.
Man, oh, what a time! I mean, this weekend was so great. Just great. How many great blues musicians really made the community feel like a community.
Let's talk about your new record. You have a brand new record. Before we talk about the record, tell me how you got signed with the new Blind Pig.
Loving that shirt still. Well, the Blues Groovers and I, and it's funny that you said we talked about Blues Groovers. The Blues Groovers and I did a 13-city tour. 13 cities in 15 days. Most of the tour was done in the van, but 13 cities in 15 days. And at one show, which was in Germany, and if I'm not, I really hope I'm saying this right, in Schopingen, Germany. And there was a man who happened to be in the audience named Bernard. And Bernard heard us play. And apparently he loved it. Apparently, because he called Jeff Schroeder's personal phone, and goes, "Hey, I know that you're bringing Blind Pig back. We were their friends, and I know that you're bringing Blind Pig back. There's this young man who I think that you should hear. I think that you should sign him." So when we originally released my first EP back when I was 19 years old, I think, back in 2017.
Yep.
Blues for the City. We were looking for a label to put it on. We ended up doing independent, but one of the labels that we really wanted to do was Blind Pig. So we messaged, made contact, and they very politely told us we're actually on a sabbatical now. We're on a hiatus. That's what the word they use. We're on a hiatus. So for that to come full circle and say, "Hey, this is Jeff Schradel, and I'm the owner of Blind Pig Records, and we're bringing Blind Pig back, and we want you to be one of the first artists that we sign." That feeling, I can't tell you how that made me feel. Just knowing that people like Pine Top Perkins, Otis Rush, all the
one of the biggest blues labels. They were one of the biggest blues labels, just like Alligator and Delmark. They were right up there. Blacktop, you name it.
Victor Wainwright. So many great musicians who I love to hear. Kenny Neal, even who is a friend. Kenny Neal. They were all with Blind Pig, and now in my age, I got told, "Hey, we want you to also be part of this family." Now, those words have shaken my world a few times. The first time was Hammond, when the Hammond Organ Company called and said, "Hey, we saw your American Idol audition, and we started looking you up. We love what you're doing, and we want you to be part of our artist family."
Wow.
Shook my world. And I was thinking, I don't think there will ever be a time where those words will shake my world just as much. And there it was, Blind Pig saying, "Hey, and we're going to pair you up with the best producers that we can find. We're going to pair you up with the best writers we can find. We're going to put you in the best studio that we can find."
So what period of time did both of those things happen? Was it close?
So funny enough, it was about a year apart. So almost exactly a year, funny enough.
So Hammond was first, and then Blind Pig came to you after.
Hammond was right after my American Idol audition had aired, about a week after it aired, actually. And then Blind Pig was about 2 weeks after we got back from Europe. So it was maybe a year and a half apart.
It was January of this year that I saw you. You were one of the artists.
It was January of this year that I signed.
Yep.
But it was where they made contact with us, if I'm not mistaken, August of last year.
2023, yep.
23, they said, 2023. They said, hey, we want you. We want you to join us.
So, wow, the last 2 years have been eventful for you. American Idol. Right after that, Hammond comes to you, and then Blind Pig comes to you. Wow.
I couldn't have seen that coming. I couldn't have. I'll tell everybody.
You couldn't have wrote that, right?
Who could write? Hey, it's like watching Forrest Gump. Who knows that he's the reason things are just stringed all together? But that's what it felt like. Just everything just started coming together, and it became this whirlwind of great things. Just of great unexpected things.
So the new record, what's it called now?
Go Be Free.
Go Be Free. And it's not out yet. It's not going to be out till the end of the month or near the end of the month of August. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to, like I said when we were talking before, I'm going to ask Jeff if he'll let me play it after this interview when I rebroadcast the interview, the whole thing. So people have an advance of what it's going to be when they can go out and buy it after when it comes out.
On August 23rd, it comes out. We're releasing another. We have 2 more singles to release, if I'm not mistaken, before it comes out. One is going to be released on the 9th, so it might already be out. And it's called "Worried About the Young" with Christone, Kingfish, Ingram.
Yep.
And the last one is going to be released the same day of the album release, which is called "Separate Ways." Thus far.
So I bet he'll say, "Oh, I just want you to play the singles." Watch.
I don't know. Maybe we'll have a little bit of luck. Okay, but let's hope, and I'll even put in a good word if I can. I'll say, "Oh, please let this happen." But funny enough, even the Kingfish connection, another part of this whirlwind of these past 2 years. Because I got signed, like I said, and they said they were going to match me and pair me with the best producers and the best writers and the best studio. So when they said Tom Hambridge.
Yeah, remember TH in the Wreckage. Don't forget that.
It was TH. They said, yeah, Tom Hambridge from TH in the Wreckage. They said Tom Hambridge, who produces for Buddy Guy, Kingfish, and he produced Susan Tedeschi's Just Won't Burn album. He produced and tells us all these things. Said, we're going to get him to produce, and he's going to co-write with you. So instantly, those things that they said they were going to do have already. What is this?
I don't know.
That they were going to do have already happened. Best writers, best producers. So, and the best studios. So we wrote the entire album we wrote in 2 days. That was it.
What was it like to work with Tom?
Amazing. It was a very, very amazing experience that had so much learning happening at the same time as writing. He was giving me tips as a writer. He was giving me little tricks that would make writing easier, but more professional. He was teaching me how to streamline some of the things I was saying, but still be detailed. And that's not an easy, when you think that you're a good writer, you see it as, oh, I'm good at this, I don't need, and then when someone tells you, hey, this is a better way to do it, and it seems so simple. It's like it's such a right there answer, right? And it was just presenting them so, hey, here's this, put this in your wallet. Hey, put this in your binder. Here's this trick, put this in your Rolodex of tricks for when you're writing. And that made the process so easy because we were just having fun. We were sitting there jamming just as much as writing the whole time. So we did that. And Richard Fleming was there too. There were 3 of us writing. And we wrote that entire album in 2 days, not even 2 full days. We wrote that entire album in a total of maybe 13 hours. Now, after that, I came back home for a while, and then we flew back to Nashville. We drove up to Nashville for the recording. We recorded the entire album in 3 days, and everything was moving so fast in such a good way. And best writers, best producers, and we were in a studio that they call Ronnie's place.
Yep.
We were in Ronnie Millsap's studio. So best writers, best writers, best producers, best studios. And it was such a great experience. Now, when we wrote Worried About the Young, Tom Hambridge poses the idea. Who would be, because we were talking features at this point. Who would be a good feature for this album? We wrote Worried About the Young and said, it would be amazing if Kingfish could play on this. Because 2 young guys.
Yeah, and he's got all the connections. Guess what? I'll get him for you. I bet.
That's essentially exactly how he acted. He goes, Kingfish? Well, not sure if you know this. And I didn't know this at the time. I'm not sure if you I write and produce for Kingfish as well. He just lays that there. I go, he goes, I'm going to float the idea to him. And he might do it. But I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna push this idea on his table. I'm gonna ask him to do it. And next thing we know, we hear, he wants to do it. He wants to do it. The schedule starts to get very hectic during the year, especially at the beginning of the year. Not only for blues musicians, but musicians everywhere.
Yep.
Festival seasons come back, like New Orleans Jazz Festival. You have promotional things like Fender Strat Guitar Month. Or Kingfish was doing this thing with, if I'm not mistaken, Jack Daniels at the time too. So many things were happening. Kingfish's schedule was super busy. And then one night, if I'm not mistaken, one night in April, we get an email. Hey, here's Kingfish's track on Worried About the Young. Hope you guys like it. and I I saw a post about 2 days before. Said, hey, just wrapped up recording with Kingfish in New Orleans. Man, oh man, can't wait for this one. And I run to my dad's room and say, I think he just got Kingfish to record. 2 days later, here's Kingfish tracks. I hope you enjoy them. And they were phenomenal. I mean, just.
Have you ever talked to him, Kingfish?
Not yet. Our paths have always been in the same direction.
But not in the same place.
But never crossed. I mean, he's one of those guys who grew up around Vashti Jackson and got to see Vashti Jackson. My father was playing for Vashti Jackson, so I was around too. If we were at the same festival, we didn't know it.
Wow.
And this would have been years before either of us were.
And now he's on your record and you haven't even met him yet. That's pretty cool.
The schedules just didn't work out. But that he even took the time out. And I say it on every interview. I say, Kingfish, I want to say thank you. Tom Hambridge, I want to say thank you.
Tell Tom, about me and the radio show being all this time. I used to see him at TH in the Wreckage way back when he first started out.
Yes, sir. He's have a career like Tom Hambridge. To have that kind of amazing path is what I think
he made the right decisions all the time. He always found the right place to be at the right time and the right people to be with, and then he was playing all the time, but then he started to produce. Once he started producing, more people wanted him to produce them, the more they listened to the stuff that he was doing.
That is exactly it. It's putting yourself in a place where you can make your next step.
I would love to interview him if we can work that out.
Oh man, I'll say it like this. or I'll tell Mr. Jeff that you said that, and I'll let Mr. Jeff, or you can email Mr. Jeff
Yeah, I will, because Tom is a guy that I'd love to ask about how he ended up with Buddy Guy, and I know how he ended up with Susan. They were friends when they were up here, and he was just starting. I think he was just starting to produce records at that time. And I guess she asked him. I think that's how it happened. She asked him if he'd do it, and he was still playing. He was playing drums on that, I think, too.
I think so, but
So,
that's exactly it. He's just such a dynamic way to put yourself in the right place for the right things to happen for you, and
yeah,
that's
I'm going to interview Jeff pretty soon too. The new owner of Blind Pig Records. Maybe I'll ask him about Tom Hambridge and see.
yes, sir. And but yeah, I mean, just he did such great things, and deciding just to help out, just to go with ideas. One of our songs called "I've Been There" originally it was supposed to be this 6/8 type of da 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 da. And I looked at him, I go, I'm not really. That's not really what I'm thinking. I don't think. I think we can go with a more modern John Mayer-esque type thing. And I said, do you have any guitar I can play that's not signed by Buddy Guy or BB King? He goes, well, no, you're good. You can just grab that one. And this one, funny enough, had Buddy Guy's signature here and BB King's signature here. And he goes, yeah, just try it on that. And I start playing. I said, yeah, I'm thinking more like this. And he goes, yeah, man. Yeah, let's go with that. That kind of he made me feel so welcome.
That's good.
And he makes you feel so grateful to even work with him, because he's just such a nice guy, and it makes everything go so much.
He really is a nice guy. I remember him seeing him many times in clubs here in Boston, where he'd come in and hang out with Susan, or he'd come in and just kind of take it easy. Just come in and listen to the music and see who was coming and playing.
And that's what makes him so great. Just he's just as much of a normal person. Like if Tom Hambridge doesn't have to advertise that he's Tom Hambridge.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So for people who don't know that he's Tom Hambridge, you just think this is just another great guy that you had the pleasure of meeting in your life. And then you find out the great things, and then you find out, oh, he's also Buddy Guy's drummer. He's played for Susan Tedeschi, produced for Buddy Guy and Susan Tedeschi, produced for Eric Gales, written for Kingfish, produced for, he just produced for Selwyn Birchwood. He just has all these credits that but he walks just so in such
he made all the right choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a lot of bad choices in this business, but he found the right places to be at the right time with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, again, you think about how he evolved. He started with producing Susan. That was here locally. And he moved to Nashville. I remember him moving to Nashville for a little while. And now he's in Chicago, I think. He's moved back. He lives closer to
He's
Buddy.
actually still in Nashville.
Is he really?
Constantly just goes back
and forth, right? Yeah, I remember when he moved to Nashville. I remember that.
He says he's telling us. He said he loves it. He loves being out there and being able to have this area where he feels very peacefully. He was showing us. He was like, "Yeah, in my backyard, just have deer sometimes." He was very happy.
Yeah, but he's got studios at his beck and call there. He can do whatever he wants, basically.
Yep, and he was telling me. He said, "Yeah, I used to work here. It was Black River." He said, "This used to be my office right here. It was another studio." He said, "That was my office. That's Ronnie Millsap's studio, just right next door to each other."
Wow.
So he's just but yeah. So the new album, so the new album, "Go Be Free." It's someone used this in a review, and I didn't think to use this word, but I really love that it describes it. It is an odyssey. It's an odyssey of me, of who I am, I think, because you don't always get a second shot. So if you can put who you are out there and just hope that people love it, that's what you should do. And that's what I was trying to do with this one. I mean, it's a very vulnerable thing to put so many original songs out there, because with my last album, with Kevin and the Blues Groovers, Something Old, Something New, Something Borrowed Blues, I was doing a lot of blues standards, Sweet Home Chicago, Hey, the blues is all right, stuff like that, and
this one's all originals, most of it, right?
Is all originals. The only one I didn't write on was a collaboration between Jeff and Tom Hambridge, Jeff Stradle and Tom Hambridge. And other than that, 11 tracks that I wrote. I put a lot of here, and that can make a huge difference in terms of it's a nerve-wracking experience. You go, oh gosh, I'm worried because they're gonna hear me. They're gonna hear who I am. They're gonna see who I am. So far, it's been doing okay, because today I got an email from Jeff Stradle, and it goes, here, Roots Music Report, blues top 50 blues albums, #1, Go Be Free. I have no words to express how great that made me feel today. Just
even when it's not out, it's #1.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So that was, I don't know how the Roots Reports works. I don't know exactly how it works, but they have access to certain things apparently, and it was ranked #1 today.
Wow, that's great.
I have no idea how to react to certain things sometimes. This is my excitement, besides waking up and just going, whoa. So that's, everything's going so great in terms of I'm putting myself out there, and apparently people are sort of digging it, and that's good. And I'm not sure how many tracks from the new album you've heard thus far.
I've heard the whole thing. I have the whole thing.
Yeah, I was making sure. I didn't want but all of those pieces of me, Hot House, Go Be Free, I've Been There. And even if I didn't write, for I've Been There, I wrote a few pieces of it, and I was putting myself out there. I was, even in the way I sung it, I wasn't singing it in the way I was advised to sing it necessarily. I was singing it in the way that I felt I should sing it. And that goes for all the songs. Tattooed Wings, when I wrote that, I was sitting right here in this room. Go Be Free, I was sitting right here in this room. Hot House, I was in the other room. But I was right here. And it was just, it's been a blessing to see that people are liking things. People are understanding who I am, and asking me questions about who I am.
How do people find out about you, Kevin, Sonny, whatever you want to call yourself, Sonny?
Well, you can ask me questions. When we have these interviews, when I talk to people, I don't only try to tell you about I don't do the whole sunglasses all the time. Yeah, I'm just too cool for this. No, I come on out and I wear this smile that I've worn my whole life. I make myself look as presentable as I can, and I try to talk like another person. I don't try to out to be somebody who's above anybody.
You're you.
Yeah, and that's and that's another lesson that I don't think Tom Hambridge knew he was sort of reinforcing. I was taught that by my grandfather and my father and my family members. But
be yourself is what they tell you, right?
They say be yourself, but they also say never think that you're too big for anything or anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, if Tom Hambridge weren't the one in charge of everything going on, if someone walked into that room and had to guess who was in charge, there's no way anybody would have been able to guess easily Tom Hambridge, because he was just so, yeah.
He's he's very laid back guy.
He was laid back and very, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
It wasn't here's what we're gonna do. Smack it on the table. There you go do it. No, it was, hey, take it as you feel it, and that's been a blessing to for myself to be able to be that person who's. So if you want to get to know about me that way, like as who I am, that's what you do. But if you want to get to know me in terms of learn more about me, you can go to sonnygullage.com, I guess.
sonnygullage.com or the Blind Pig website too, right?
Yep. Or you can follow myself and the Blues Groovers on Facebook, on Instagram. You can look up Sonny Gullage. You can look up Sonny Gullage and the Blues Groovers, and you can find both of our social medias are very much up to par, up to code, up to date. The new releases, of music, I try to keep that very updated. If you want to know where to hear us play live, I try to keep that as updated as possible. So yeah, all that can be found.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The album is Sonny Gullage, but the Blues Groovers aren't anywhere on the new record. Name of them are on, but they're there. They're your band. Who decided that they weren't going to be on that they weren't going to be labeled?
Well, the Blues Groovers aren't on the record because when you perform,
I know they're not on the record. You said the Nashville guys were on it, but technically it's you and your band. Technically, right? No, just you.
I'm signed. Yeah, I'm the one who signed to Blind Pig.
That's the answer I wanted to find out.
I'm the one who signed to Blind Pig. But the truth is, an artist is only as good as. I don't. I get very, very to the point about this, and that's just me as a person. When it comes to what makes an artist, I think a lot of people try to paint it as, oh, this artist is very self-serving, The Blues Groovers, and that's why I was making such a deal of it earlier. The Blues Groovers are are one of the biggest reasons that I'm where I am. They challenge me, each and every one of them. My father especially, but
every night they challenge you. I bet.
I mean, I have there's two keyboard players. There's myself, then there's Brandon Adams. Brandon Adams has one hand. And to this day, Brandon Adams can outplay me most days. I might have a lucky day every now and then. Brandon Adams can outplay me most days. Now, I have a guitar player named Carlton Ross, who is amazing, dynamic. I play guitar, but he reminds me, hey, there's still so much more to learn, so much more to do. Check this out. Do this.
That's a good thing because they push you. They all push each other.
My father is a legend who doesn't make a silent legend. He's played with everyone. He's done everything. He's been everywhere.
And he's proud of you, I bet, for what you've done.
He says, yeah, he says he is. I believe him. He's played, think about this, he's played for the Queen of England. He doesn't realize all of these things about himself. He just walks in with his natural confidence. And then if people don't believe they should listen to him, he feels it's not his job to remind them to. No. It's his job to be the force that pushes things in the right direction. That's why, and it's funny enough, that's why he loves being a bass player too. Because he said it's like Groot from the Marvel series. He goes, Groot says, I am Groot. Once he said, we are Groot, but Groot says, I am Groot. He doesn't say much, which means that every time he does, it has way more of an impact. And it means so much more. Having somebody on drums like Lil Mike Harris, he can have you thinking on how to do things better and how to work with the groove, how to work against that. Having a sixth man like Rod Jackson and Jason Parfait, they have different experiences, they have different sounds, both great saxophone players, but they're the ones who support me. They all work together and make me look real good. And guess what? Every time they do that, I look at them, and after the shows,
big smile, right?
Just a big smile. A big smile is good on stage. Off stage, thank you. After every tour, after every time we all play together, I say, thank y'all. Y'all have no idea how much it means to me. Y'all don't know. Y'all might not know that I go into every interview and I tell everyone, the Blues Groovers, I can be signed as Sonny Gullage. Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. When you're out on the road with them, it's the Blues Groovers, your band, and you.
Not just when I'm out on the road. Even Sonny Gullage sounds all well and good, and all, but Sonny Gullage and the Blues Groovers is what made this make sense. Not just for me, but made it make sense for the people who are listening now. When we start playing these songs live, it's gonna sound a little bit different than the record, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
The record cats are great, and all the guys who played on this record are also great live. But there's no synergy like the synergy that's been built between
with your band that you've had for all this time.
The guys who were there at the bottom of it, where we had one set at BB King's Blues Club, and we were making money, but not a lot. In growing up together in this, becoming the guys who are going to Calgary, the guys who are going to Brazil, the guys who are going and doing 13 cities in Europe in 15 days, just to come back a month later and do another city in Europe, just to come back another month later and do another city in Europe.
Yeah, I didn't realize that your regular band wasn't on that record and that it was studio guys that were playing on it.
Oh yeah, but there's a reason for that. Studio guys are great at. That's why we call them. We just mentioned it 3 times. Studio guys. Those guys can walk into a studio and make it become something. Tom Hambridge even said, "Yeah, I'm very specific about who I pick because these guys, we work on everything.
They're pros. They walk in and they can do anything. At a drop of a dime, they can do just about anything."
Exactly. He goes. I remember seeing Kenny Greenberg comes in with it's labeled. It's this giant box. It's labeled guitar coffin. And inside of it, he has so many different guitars that he's like, yeah, well, this one's good for this, but this one's good for this. And then he has 6 amps just sitting there. And all this stuff is just, and Tom was saying, he said, I can just tell these guys, hey, I'm looking for this. And they're going to give me that.
There you go.
In the studio, time is money. Apparently, time is money.
It is.
Tom Hambridge was saying, we don't have time to waste time. We don't have time to waste time, which means we don't have the money to waste time.
Let's get it done. Is basically it.
Waste money. So it was very much let's get it done. I mean, recording an entire 12-track album in 3 days.
Wow.
We didn't get past second takes. We barely did second runs. It was just
everything was first take, basically.
It was essentially first take, and then it was, hey, there was this one spot that I would like to take again, and then somebody else might be like, hey, I want to take like 4 bars before that, so we could just go at the same time. and then I went and recorded vocals, and it all just came together. So the band makes a difference in where you choose it. The studio band makes a studio quality sound. In terms of, what professionally studio sounds like if you're a professional in the studio. While live, Kenny Greenberg's amazing. He's amazing, dynamic, super awesome. I've seen footage of him both live as well as and I've been in the studio with him. And Carlton Ross is live with me. There's a difference. We have this connection where I don't have to tell Carlton what to do. I don't have to tell Carlton, when you solo do this, I don't have to say any of these things.
He already knows. They already know.
Tom Hambridge said, in the studio, they already know. On the stage, Carlton already knows. Brandon already knows. Jason and Rod already know. Mike Harris already knows. And my father, he's the one who's like, y'all better know. My dad's like, you better know.
Well, they all follow the lead. They all know what they're doing.
Having a band leader in the back and front who's direct, he's directing me to direct traffic, and I'm trusting him to direct the traffic behind me, makes everything work out perfect.
Well, Sonny, I just want to say thank you for taking some time out of your busy day and busy schedule to spend it with me here, chatting about your new record, chatting about your history, and
Oh, this
Lead
was great.
Belly being a relative of yours and all that great stuff.
Oh, this was great. I mean, every second from Who I Am to American Idol to Hammond to the blues, especially the Blues Groovers,
Yeah.
to Blind Pig to Tom Hambridge to Kingfish to all this was a great.
You got quite a history for a young guy that's only been around a little short while.
History is, history is all based. I say it all the time. History is all based off of the people who come before you, and I've had a great
Lots of it. You've had lots of it come before you.
deal of great people come before me.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Have a great day, and I hope to see you in town soon.
Oh,
Come up to New England and play.
I would love to. I hope to soon. I haven't made my way up to Massachusetts yet. I haven't been up to Boston yet. I've been up to New Jersey, but I haven't been up to Boston. So that's going to be on my list.
Well, when you do, come to the radio station. Come hang out or play. You can come and play if you want to.
I'll bring the Blues Groovers up there. We'll have a
Yeah.
great. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Signing off.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.